Greetings, everyone. This is Neo Cosmos. I recently did a video, uploaded it, then discovered that the whole video was muted, and it was muted because of me. I had the mute button activated on my laptop, and I didn't realize the light was on. So I'm going to redo the video over now that everything that I've mentioned in the previous video is still fresh in my head. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my life in hindsight, not in hindsight, but on high level. I wanted to give you an opportunity to get to know me a little bit more. So I'm originally born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I know I've mentioned that around my first video, but I want to go a little bit in depth of who I was, who I am, who I'm becoming. So my mother was born in Brooklyn, New York. My father was born in Trinidad, Tobago, and my brother was born with autism. My oldest brother was born with autism, and I was the second and last born, so that makes me the youngest. But even though I was the youngest, I was treated like the older child. So there were certain things that I wanted to do with my brother I wasn't able to do, and that one thing being able to communicate like I do everyone else by speaking. Like I could speak to him, but he just won't be able to respond back. But he understands what I'm saying. So that in itself was enough to shape anyone's aspect of communication with other people, because communication starts at the home, especially when it comes to your siblings. But unfortunately, my experiences with my brother isn't one that's common amongst other people with their siblings. So imagine being like experiencing other kids being able to speak with their siblings and even have arguments with their siblings, and you not knowing what that's like. And the only time that you have interacting with other kids was with your other cousins or other kids in school. So in kindergarten, I was the kid that enjoyed video games, enjoyed drawing, singing, dancing. I was the kid that loved Michael Jackson and Janet. Those are my top two artists as a kid. So I was an artsy kid, and I also had a big imagination, and I was resilient. And I'm giving myself credit when it comes to the resiliency piece because of my molestation that took place when I was about 4 years old. So even though that experience happened and it was stored in my subconsciousness, and it still affected me in my other attributes in the future, I was still a happy-go-lucky kid. I was still the kid that loved to be sociable, even though I was shy. So when I was in kindergarten, and I started kindergarten, I was excited. But of course, when I was in kindergarten, I've experienced my first time being picked on by two other Spanish kids that felt like they needed to project their traumas and their pain onto me. And one of the things that I've learned through shadow work is that oftentimes kids tend to pick on other kids. 9 times out of 10 is because of the fact that they've experienced some dysfunction and traumas at home or with a close relative. So whether there was being mentally or physically abused or being molested or having things done to them against their will, like myself, a lot of other kids wasn't as resilient as me. And so it's easier to project pain and affliction onto someone else. And I could be at a stance now of forgiving them because at the end of the day, they weren't fully 100% aware of what what they were doing, and why, right? And oftentimes, what I've also discovered during my shadow work is a lot of the times people do things and project things onto others mainly because of what happened to them. And so I became more enlightened and realized that I was just caught in the crossfire of a lot of that. Because I was just around and I was just there. And because they're already going through the mess that they're going through, especially at home, it was an outlet for them to release. And even though it was unfavorable, especially for me, I realized that it had nothing to do with me. And so I was able to move forward from that. Through my healing, of course, because as a kid, for most kids, we tend to internalize a lot of craziness that has happened to us. And we tend to think it's because of us, and we tend to have a distorted perception of self because of those experiences, right? So on to the second grade, that's when the bullying tend to intensify. And at the end of the day, now looking at everything, all those kids, they were all just trying to find a way. And it was a cry for help for them. And I can see that a lot easier and clearer now. So the second and third grade, especially the fourth grade, wasn't a really great experience for me. Because of all the bullying that took place, it led to me not wanting to go to school. Then in the fourth grade, being held back because I wasn't retaining the information as I normally would, mainly because of all the bullying and all the picking and prodding at me. So I could draw or I could sing and I could do certain things and kids would just fuck with me for it. And instead of seeing it for what it was, I saw it with a skewed set of eyes and ears, especially as a kid. So I could forgive myself. I could forgive myself from all those things for not seeing it for what it actually was. It went a little deeper than just jealousy. It was just the fact that, hey, if a child knows that, hey, they can't naturally do a certain task or a skill set and another kid does, especially going home and being smacked around or neglected and not being fed and not being attended and cared for from your parents, that could hurt. So all they were doing was internalizing all that shit and throwing it my way because I was a kid that shined a certain way. You know what I'm saying? So fast forwarding over to junior high school in the seventh grade, I remember they put me in the wrong class on my first day. So my second day, I was put to the corrected class. And as soon as I walked inside of the classroom and the teacher introduced me to the other kids in the class. There was this one girl. It just was ice grilling me for no reason. Already had an energy towards me. Now I could look at it in different ways now of why that was. Either we had aspects that knew each other that wasn't fond of each other because of an experience that took place in our past lives. But I soon discovered it wasn't necessarily that. It was more so of the fact that she wasn't, as most kids, they're not able to express their thoughts and their feelings. So a lot of the times, instead of them expressing their thoughts and their feelings of their fear of being embarrassed or it being thrown back in their face, instead they pick on you. So she will make fun of my haircut. She'll make fun of the way that I spoke, how I carried myself. She'll be one of those people that if I get an answer right, it got under her skin type shit. Or if I got an answer wrong, she relished in that. She relished in that shit. And as a kid in the seventh grade, I didn't understand how someone could be so invested in your downfall without really giving you a chance. You know what I'm saying? So fast forwarding over to the eighth grade, and we had like this low grade prom in junior high school for junior high school. So we were all dancing, having fun. I remember enjoying myself during prom. I was dancing myself. I was dancing with other kids, but just flowing and just having fun, right? And towards the end of the night, the same girl that gave me hell during the seventh grade had the nerve to ask me if I wanted to dance with her. So of course I said no, because it was just weird to me how you could be so fucked up to me for the whole year, and being that now that you know that we're going to do two different high schools, now you want to post up and dance with me, the kid with the wax shoes, the kid with the fucked up haircut, the kid that wanted to be white. Now, when I was in my 20s and I thought about that experience, I smiled and I said to myself, that's what it was. She liked me, but instead of her expressing herself, she just chose violence. You know what I'm saying? So, figuratively speaking, not literally. Like it's not like she put her hands on me. She just verbally antagonized me a lot. But I get it. It's an easier way to. It's easier to be fucked up to someone than to possibly be rejected. You know, and she still in the end got rejected. Not because I just said no. It was the fact that because she treated me like shit. Now, had it been anybody else I was cool with, I wouldn't have had no problems. High school. So, high school was the time in my life where I started to realize what time it was with me. That was the time that I realized that for sure that I was gay. And even though I knew since I was a little younger what time it was with me, high school, I definitely knew what time it was with me. So naturally, already going through all these negative simulations when it comes to my peers and other classmates, it still persists where kids always seem to like to fuck with me. And at that time, once again, all I wanted was just to be accepted amongst a group of people. Hey, if you didn't fuck with me, you didn't have to speak to me. But I'll prefer people to just be cool and cordial and nice and get to know me opposed to passing on judgment or projecting things that are not there, you know? I would say during that time, there was a lot of kids also that was dealing with the same things, battling with their sexuality, trying to suppress it or deny it or deflect it. Deflection and projection was the most common thing amongst a lot of gay kids in high school. So to reduce the attention to their own shit that they already know about within themselves, they'll project it onto somebody else that they feel is an easy target. And I was one of those easy targets. But especially for girls, they were, because for women naturally, you're more in tune with your heart space. Even though you may go through your traumas, it's easier for you to tap into your heart space and be more aware of your surroundings or be aware of people to a degree, right? So it's not like I was a kid that was flamboyant and obvious about my shit, but I'm sure a couple of them knew without me ever having to say it directly, type of thing, you know? And with other boys, of course, that was the easy thing to do. Especially if you're gay and you know you're gay your goddamn self. Projecting onto somebody else so that you won't be the target. On to the 11th grade. That was around the time that I started to go to the LGBT Center in New York City and 13th on 13th and 7th, at 13th and 7th. And I got a chance to meet up with kids that were around my age that was going through the same shit I was going through. I got a chance to see other gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender teenagers, right? And they all talked about their stories and their traumas and the things that they've experienced to get to where they are in life and where they're going to go in the future. That was one of the first times of my life where I didn't feel like an outsider or an outcast. But even with them, because I wasn't the flamey gay boy, or I didn't dress up as fly as I would have liked to, because I was still, you know what I'm saying, I was getting my money, but I wasn't getting the money that I really wanted to get, of course, with most teenagers' mindset, So there were certain things, there's certain ways I wanted to express myself that I couldn't through clothes, right? So I was overlooked for that. But there was some other teenagers that was interested, but I wasn't interested. But there was this one guy that he was a little older than me. Not realizing that all he wanted was a fling. He didn't want anything else more. So that was my first experience with building the sermon on when it comes down to people that are interested, really filling them out and see what their real and true intentions are. So during 11th grade also, I was picked on more so intensely because a so-called friend of mine told these people that felt already indifferent about me as a person, about my business, right? Mind you, Of course, I'm saying of course, because he was also fighting with his sexuality. So, and he was also flaming. He was more so obvious with his shit, right? So it was easier for him to put the attention on me to get the attention away from him. I confided in him as a friend, and I told him what time it was with me. More so because I felt that I could trust him because I knew he was walking a similar walk with me, but he wasn't as accepting, mainly because of his upbringing and him wanting to maintain a certain image in high school. You know how it goes. So because he opened up his mouth and told these people, they felt more comfortable in disrespecting me and going out their way and disrespecting me. And I know at the end of the day, he might not be watching my video, but in case you are watching my video, I hope that you found healing. I hope that you learned to accept yourself. And we could have been friends because I enjoyed our conversations and I enjoyed your personality. And I thought I found a friend in you, but you was the type of person that will go above and beyond to try and put somebody else on blast so that you could live stealth. And I just wanted to let you know at the end of the day, I hope you became a better person. And I'm sure you learned your lesson thereafter. That if somebody confides in you and opens their heart space to you and confide in you about certain things and aspects of their life, going out there blabbering about it to people, especially people that don't already give a fuck about that particular person, isn't something that is the best thing to do. So I hope you learn that. So these kids used to stand in front of this Dunkin' Donuts that's near my high school. And that Dunkin' Donuts just so happened to be around the same uh, route that I used to walk to get to the train. I believe I used to take the N or the U. It's been so long, I don't remember what train it was. But that was one of the quickest trains to get through Brooklyn to get to the city, or the quickest train to get to downtown Brooklyn so that I could get home in Brooklyn, right? Without all the pit stops and shit. And they would wait in front of this Dunkin' Donuts almost every fucking day, damn near almost every day, just to verbally harass me, call me a bunch of names, call me a bunch of gay slurs, a whole bunch of derogatory shit, right? A lot of the times I would just ignore them. I had my music blasting in my ears and I would just out of sight, out of mind. I made sure I walked on the side that Dunkin' Donuts wasn't in and kept it pushing. But it was this one day that I was on the side where the Dunkin' Donuts was. This one guy he used to play football, so already has a size advantage over me. And he calls himself trying to push me, but I didn't fall down on the floor. He would just kept pushing me. I think he tried it like at least once or twice or so. And I just kept pushing, and he wanted to get a reaction out of me, so that him and his friends could have a reason to jump, pretty much. And it could have easily went a different way, but I realized that I had my benevolent ancestors, that had my highest and greatest good, and my spiritual parents protecting me during those times. So even back then, I was in good hands. So fast forwarding over to a situation during my social studies / history class, my teacher would ask for all of our ID cards and place them on his desk and take an exam. And after you finish the exam, you give him the test and he gives you your ID card back. I still find that a little like silly to do because if somebody wants to leave the class, they'll leave it. They don't care if they left their ID or not, you know. But for the most part, you know, I was in the honors program throughout high school. So for the most part, I didn't. None of the kids really was that far off when they came down to taking their exams. Even though a lot of them didn't pass their exams, you know, still nonetheless, we're different. We had a certain type of caliber mentally. Even though there was a lot of ignorant fucks in my class. So this was one time I finished the exam and I was about to take my ID, and I found my ID card missing. And I found my history teacher to be extremely irresponsible because he allowed kids in the classroom to take my ID. So they finished their test. They probably finished the test maliciously quick, not caring if they passed or failed or not, just so they could take my ID. So it took me a couple of days to get my ID card back. But during my healing and during my shadow work, I started to understand the real reasons why they took my ID card. So the same ones that kept waiting for me in Dunkin' Donuts and kept fucking with me and antagonizing me verbally almost every day, they just so happen to be from Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. So I'm sure they probably had somebody in the family that was a practitioner or a spiritualist of some kind and probably told them a lie about me fucking with them. So, as most people in the family, especially in the West Indies, they have a tendency of always liking to throw spirits and shit at people. I just want to let everybody know that these motherfuckers had the nerve to put a curse at me. That they threw some spirits and shit at me too. And I persevered from those. And I cleared myself from those without realizing I was going through it. I want to let you guys know it's like this is directed to the people that did this shit. I have one question to ask you. How's your life has been going? I'm sure over 15 years ago, you've experienced a lot of karma, didn't you? I'm sure a lot of unfavorable things happened. I'm sure you received your justice, even worse. And I'm laughing about it and I can smile about it now because I know that had to suck. You went above and beyond to try to fuck with me. Not only mentally, and you try to fight me, but then you try to get spirit to go against me. And you had no fucking idea who I was, and I didn't know who I was either at that time. I was only a teenager, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know. But now that I know self, Oh, I'm sure you got your comeuppance already. And I'm sure probably you're still going through it. Unless you changed your ways and you change your heart space, I'm sure you're still going through it. It doesn't pay to try to be malicious to someone because you don't believe in the you don't believe in same-sex relationships or whatnot, or that has nothing to do with me. This also is related to when it comes to the collective and when it comes to the woke community and all that other stuff. I still find a lot of people saying some derogatory things when it comes to the LGBT just in general, saying that we don't belong, saying that we're not part of the collective. How can we, right? I just want to let you know, as far as me, I've been doing my work and continuously doing my work. And I'm doing everything that I need to do to help and aid and assist and guide others to the highest and greatest good for themselves. I'm brave enough to share uncomfortable truths and traumas in my life and give my personal testimony and share it on to others so they could face themselves in ways that they felt ashamed to, so that they could actually illuminate themselves in the sand. And just like everybody else that is in this community doing their job and doing their work, I'm doing the same. Then there was senior year. Senior year was fun though. Senior was a fun year because that was the year that I started hanging out with other kids that had such a bright and bubbly personality and loved to laugh and enjoyed clothes shopping as much as I did. And that was the year that I was starting to dress a little bit more fly because I was getting more hours with my part-time job and everything else after school. So to all the people, especially the ones that are still friends with me on Facebook that know me since high school, y'all know who you are. I give gratitude to all of y'all for ending high school with a bang in a positive way for me. And in certain ways having my back against people that was opposing of me. And even though we may not speak on a daily basis currently, because we're all living our own lives, a lot of y'all got y'all got some churn and everything, and you got your spouse, and you got responsibilities and businesses and all that. I would just like to say gratitude to y'all, and I love you all for being there with me and for me during those times. And that was very important because high school had its highs, but it had many lows. And because you guys were able to be transparent with me and have an open heart space with me, it taught me that there's other people out here that are, they're not assholes. You know what I'm saying? They're not assholes. Wow, this shirt. One thing about my shirts I know is there's always one side that's longer than the other. It's excruciating to me. So forgive me if I'm fixing my shirt a lot. So in college, it was pretty cool. I've enjoyed my experience nonetheless. I was able to obtain my associates, my bachelor's, and my master's degree. So I have an accounting degree, as an associate's and bachelor's, but I have my master's in finance. And even though my beginning stages of my career was rocky, especially being a young Melanite in a lot of these corporations. So once again, the theme of me being an outsider repeated itself. So I'll be pushed out of a lot of jobs, and I can hold myself accountable for certain things of why I was pushed out of those roles. But for the most part, I was just mainly being pushed out because they just didn't want to see me there. They didn't want to see a Melanite that's younger than them thriving and doing all the necessary things, right? So it was one of those things where it was easy for a lot of employers that did not look like me, that did not come from where I come from, to micromanage and mistreat me and talk shit about me amongst other coworkers with the whole nepotism bullshit that was going on and that took place. And even though I was going through that, I still was passionate and I still wanted to grow within my field. I wanted to make more money. I wanted to, have a better life for myself and my future family. You know what I'm saying? Then I realized through time in my field, even though I was able to do what I was able to do and I was making good money, I was unhappy. I was unhappy not only because of the fact that a lot of positions that I was working as a contractor didn't want to hire me, but I was also unhappy because of all the unhealed traumas that I've experienced prior to that point, right? But even though I've experienced those unfavorable moments in my life, it got me to here. It got me into a space to where I was pushed into my healing, especially during the pandemic in 2020. I was pushed into my healing. That year, I experienced a best friend of mine that turned his back on me and decided to choose Jiff. And due to that, I decided to go extra states left somewhere. And ever since then, I've been gradually being guided slowly and surely to my healing, slowly and surely to my soul tribes. I was guided to watch all the wonderful teachers, spiritual teachers like Bobby Hemmett, Quatita Dean, Isis Wisdom, Dilbert Blair, you name it. It led me to a path of wanting to do more for myself and to heal myself and to be more accepting of myself. I discovered that I'm not only just an oracle, a healer, a crystal rapper, because I loved copper wrap jewelry. I always did, and now I've taught myself. I was learning the basics through certain YouTube videos here and there, but I taught myself for the most part by a bunch of trial and error and getting out of my own way. I also discovered that I was a conjurer. I've also discovered that I was able to do so many great things that I could share to help unite the collective. This is who I am. And I know there's a lot of people in the woke community that is stuck with the dogmatic belief that the LGBT has no place. We're out here doing what we need to do. We're out here doing the work. We out here guiding people. We out here healing people. We're conjuring employment and opportunities and open roads for people. because of our natural abilities and our actual natural connections with spirit and source. So you can have your opposing thoughts all you want, but it's not going to change anything. And as well as other LGBT members out there that is in the spirit world, that's doing what we need to do, that's doing the necessary work here on this plane, we ain't going no fucking where. I'm not going anywhere. You have your right and you have your free will to think however you want to think about me at this point. But it's not going to change the fact that I am doing what I need to do, and I'm going to help enlighten and ascend the collective for their highest and greatest good by sharing my stories, sharing my experiences, healing from my traumas. Outside of YouTube, outside of the online shit, I'm doing my own work. And I can, because of that, I can stand 10 tones down in my shit. This is who I am. I know in my other past lives, I was a mother, I was a father. But in this lifetime, I'm a gay man. I'm a gay man that's walking on path, that's working on healing myself and seeing how it affects and shifts my life in particular, and sharing my testimony to share with y'all that healing yourself could change your whole trajectory and your whole environment and how you see the world and how you see yourself. And realizing that you have the power and you have the ability to do anything as long as within means. This is in my blood. This is in my bloodline. I didn't just wake up and walk into it. I was guided to it because I was destined to be part of it. So anybody else that feels the opposing kind of way, you're allowed to do that. But just be careful with me. Be careful how you speak to me. Be careful how whatever shit you try to throw at me. Whether you're just speaking it or you're writing down in the comments how you feel about someone in the LGBT, doing the work. Because again, like I said, there's a lot of people in the community that has a lot of slick shit to say. They could go and talk about a topic that has nothing to do with us, and then all of a sudden bring us up and degrade us and belittle us. At the end of the day, we're doing what we need to do too, just like you are. And I respect and love everybody individually as they are. And there's no judgment. As long as you see yourself fully and change and make the necessary changes to yourself for you to become better, I ain't got shit to say. You know what I'm saying? Not only because I'm healing from my experiences and I've dealt with a lot of opposition and people trying me and doing this, that, and the other, I just want to make this clear. Be careful dealing with me because I'm walking with positivity and love in my heart. And I'm in a certain type of vibration. And my ancestors, my benevolent ancestors, and my spiritual parents don't play about me. And I'm not out here just to try to start no shit and blow smoke or start some smoke. But I'm not the one to try that shit with. So you can respectfully move how you want to move. That's the best way. But for everybody else, with an open heart and still sticking around and was able to watch this video, even though I had to do this video a second time, I love y'all. I really appreciate y'all listening and taking the time to hear me out. And I'm here to say there's so many things I need to cover this year. I'm just getting started. And I'm doing the best I can in this. And that's all I can do. And every day isn't going to be easy. As far as especially on this path, it's not going to be easy every day. But as long as you grow and as long as you adapt and you follow your mission, like I'm on mission, you all good. You have everything that you need. So again, I appreciate everybody that is watching and has been watching me over the past couple months, especially this long, lengthy video that I had to do a second time. I appreciate every one of y'all. So there's going to be more to come. And there's going to be more announcements as well pertaining to my services and my products. And this is going to be an exciting year. I hope y'all are able to join me on this ride, because I'm only here to help. I'm only here to guide. And at the end of the day, I'm willing to be brave enough to share aspects of myself and be that face and be that soul. Ashe, and gratitude to everyone. Peace.